Firstly, is there much of an advantage for the affirmative team? And secondly, will people from the debating society who enter this tournament have a much better chance of winning? So I'll talk about those two things just quickly. Firstly, in regards to is there an advantage to the affirmative team having more time to prepare? Yes. Firstly, I'd say it's also like a danger though in having too much prepared material and then not being willing enough to engage with the other side. So that's really important. As I mentioned at the beginning, there is an advantage. Normally you have a very limited amount of time to prepare, and this time giving a whole week does mean the affirmative has more time to build up a good case at the beginning. But also, when they're setting up, like constructing their case, the negative have that extra time at the beginning of their speech to rebut. The negative gets 3 speeches to rebut in, whereas the affirmative team only gets 2. So while that is a challenge for the negative, because that rebuttal can only be generated in the room itself, in terms of the debate, that those opportunities tend to equal themselves out. So it is a bit of an extra challenge. If you're negative, you might need to, I guess, put more emphasis in trying to listen really carefully to what's going on and generating material and notes as the debate goes on. That is, I guess, an environment that we don't have much practice in, just through normal university and through normal high school even. We don't get much chance to, in this kind of environment where we have to write arguments as they come up. And someone asked, do we have any time to prepare between speeches, like your response? The answer is no. Once the first affirmative speaker sits down, the first negative speaker stands up pretty much immediately once the adjudicator read. So that means you have those up to 7 minutes to come up with a response, and that is a challenge. It's a challenge that you'll have on both sides, but you'll have it in one extra speaker on the negative team. It's a challenge, it's also an opportunity to get the extra opportunity to attack the affirmative. So it's not completely balanced in terms of preparation time, but it's also in terms of debate, it's pretty much even. In regards to debating society members, I would say the 2 main things in a debate are the structure of the speeches and the analysis. We're going to talk about analysis in a minute, but in regards to the structure, don't overlook it. It is really important stuff, even though it sounds like it's just like a guideline for how to debate. If you are able to make it clear that that's what you're following and that's what your speech, I guess, includes all those things, it makes sure your case is comprehensive. It means that people can follow what you're saying. It means that judges can take organised notes and work out how everything you're saying fits into the debate and supports your case. That is absolute gold. Really, really important. And speeches that have excellent structure and that can be followed easily always do much better than ones that don't, even if the content is bad and the ones that don't. If the content is brilliant, but the adjudicator has a whole page of notes that make no sense, and it's a lot harder for them to reward what you said or understand what you've said. So follow the structure and you'll already be at a big advantage. In terms of analysis, which I'll go on to, that's the other part, and it is actually a skill that takes you time to develop. If you can, and I guess the note-taking part of that as well, taking organised notes, those are things that if they're members of the debating society who participate, they'll have experience doing those things, and that will naturally give them an advantage. But they are skills you can practice, and I'll go through how to do them today. You guys are here, the debating society members are not, unless they're watching on YouTube. So in that case, I guess you'll have the structure you need, and hopefully the ability and practically you need to ask questions during the week preparation time that you have. Any questions on those 2 things? I promise the teams are pretty much even, affirmative and negative. It's not too much harder to do. Okay, I'm going to make a quick change in the program. I'm really sorry that it's just been me talking. I think it's incredibly boring. I'm really sorry. I want to get more interactive here, but we are kind of pushed for time. So I was kind of information dump on you, and then if you have questions, please ask. And if we have time, we can have a workshop or something. I'd like to do that. Let's see how we go. I'm going to make a quick change though with the argument and rebuttal structure. I'm going to put that ahead of analysis, just because I want to keep on zooming in closer and closer, and analysis is part of the argument structure, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to switch those 2 things around. There, well, that's what I've done. In regards to the structure of an argument and the structure of the rebuttal, I guess one thing I'd make firstly about what those 2 things are. Arguments are things that are constructive, so that's you building up your own case, explaining why this supports your value that your argument is the most important in the debate. That's an argument. The second part is rebuttal, and this is simply an argument that explains why the other team's arguments are not as good as your arguments. And in a debate, as we said before, it's not public speaking, it's about engagement, so rebuttal is a very important thing, especially for the negative team, which gets to rebut in all 3 speeches, as opposed to the affirmative that only gets rebuttal in their second 2 speeches. So in that case, I guess that both those things follow the same structure. Because the other thing to mention about rebuttal and about arguments that happen in debate is that any argument that goes unaddressed counts for the other side. So if you don't respond to an argument, it stays standing, or silence equals admission, so you're admitting that it's right by not challenging it. So it's definitely up to you when the other team says, my point's going to be about this, and about this, and about this, that you write those things down and make sure you address each of those things so that you're comprehensive and you're coming across the entire case. If there are still things that you let slip through, those things are going to stay standing. Similarly, if they don't respond to parts of your case, then those parts of your case are going to be the ones that stand out the most. So in regards to these two things, they both follow a structure, and it's on the back of your cheat sheets. So the first is the heading, and the heading is followed by a quick little because. It's basically a really quick summary of whatever this point is going to be about. If it's debate about banning smoking, the first point will be along the lines of smoking is bad for your health. So, and explaining why that's the case. The first one, the first argument might have a heading that smoking is bad for your health because, and you have a quick reason about why, because it can cause brain cancer. So your major heading. The second part of that is your analysis, and I'll go on to explain more about what this is in a minute, but the analysis is basically your explanation of why the heading is true. I would encourage you to differentiate between elaboration and explanation. Often if we say words like elaboration, it just means that you waffle about, expand on why something is true. But analysis is has a very particular format that I'll go through in a second. And it's thirdly, a conclusion which simply links this point back to the value that you're supporting. Which is like your team line again, linking it back to the thing that unites your team, the value that you are standing for and supporting. That's the structure. Every argument just follows that structure. The heading with the because, the analysis that explains why it's true, and a link back to your case. Those three things help to keep it, I guess, in a structure easy and persuasive to follow because it leads logically from one place to another, which explains why your case is right. It also helps you to be comprehensive and organised as you present it. Any questions about the structure of an argument or a rebuttal? In rebuttal, you do the exact same thing, but you mention what they said first. Okay.
Just a question. If one of the if your team doesn't rebuttal, a person from the affirmative side, and then it's your team, can you go back and rebuttal that point? So if I'm second person and my person before me doesn't actually rebuttal a point that the other team has made, and then he makes the argument, can I go back and
can you you don't get to speak again, is one thing I would say. You only get one speech to make in a debate, unless you have a team of two and someone's making two speeches, which might happen, I don't know how much this will go. But yeah, you only get to speak once in any given role. If something gets missed, for example, if there's part of your first affirmative speech that gets said and the person maybe doesn't attack it, and then the second affirmative speaker goes, the third negative the second negative can, if they want, rebut what came up the first affirmative. It's probably going to be a bit late for it to be effective. If someone thinks of that, get it up there, get all the rebuttal you can up as early as possible because the debate can move on without it. And the response might be considered too little too late by which indicates. So try to get the response happening once it's there. And that's why I'm taking notes. Even if you don't hear all of what they're explaining in their point, if you've got the heading down, you can explain it. You just expand on that heading and explain why your team's why it fits your team better than the other team. It's a bit of an improvisation like you do. That's, I guess, the jump and taking notes in that environment. Any other questions on the structure? Okay, so we'll move on really quickly from that and we'll go back to analysis. So this is the middle part of that structure. This is like the key, I guess, what makes one stand up. There's two principles of analysis. Firstly, that it all happens, I guess, it's as comprehensive as you can make it. It's like leaving nothing out. If you have a chain of events, think of a story, and the example we use in the debate society at the moment is